Why do you prefer retail arbitrage? How do you usually do the product sourcing?
The cool thing is we've built relationships with some of these stores that we go to with the management and that kind of stuff.
How many items does it take to scan to find like one profitable item?
You could scan maybe 5, 6, 7 and find a good one.
He's been selling on Amazon for more than 10 years.
So it's funny because now on social media we have all these like gurus and stuff who've been doing this for like a year and a half, 2 years.
What are those key factors for you like to decide, okay, I will purchase this item and resell it on Amazon?
For me, it boils down to a few things. One is
Hello ladies and gentlemen, today BQool have a very special guest. His name is Justin and he's been selling on Amazon for more than 10 years. Justin is doing mostly retail arbitrage and today he will share with us like how he's doing his Amazon business and more importantly how he's using a BQool repricer to help his business. Hello Justin, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
We are happy to have you here on our channel. And can you tell us like how do you start to sell on Amazon?
I've really sold online since my early 20s, eBay, and back when half price books was sort of a thing. This is back before really cell phones had full access to the internet. But on Amazon specifically, I started doing it as an alternative to eBay. But when they rolled out the Amazon FBA program, that's really what sort of stuck out to me because I could pack up all this stuff, ship it off to them, and they could pretty much take care of it. I sort of have already been in like the side hustle sort of part of my life, and Amazon presented a good opportunity. It was just one of those things I needed extra income to make ends meet. I mean, I was young, had a kid, and that kind of stuff. And so the job that I had wasn't cutting it. And I've always been wanting to go out there and get it if I need it. So I was like, hey, this could be really something. And once I started earning some income, I was like, this could be something that I could do, for a while, just sort of stuck. So
back then, like let's say like 10 years ago, how do you think Amazon was different? Like was it easier to sell on Amazon back then or it was the same?
So it's funny because now on social media, we have all these like gurus and stuff who've been doing this for like a year and a half, 2 years, and they post all these numbers and all this crazy stuff. And I'm like, man, I'm like a dinosaur over here. Like it was so different at the start of it. Like I remember there wasn't a lot of gating, right? So you could go out, Nike, Barbie, Legos, just about everything you could think of, you could just sell on there. But I think as Amazon grew and then, legally brands sort of went after them, they had to do some stuff to ensure to make the brands happy and make sure that they're, and it worked because they're the business monster they are now. But it was way different. I mean, it was a lot different for sure.
How was the product sourcing? Because I don't think there were like any apps.
I don't really remember a time where they didn't have the Amazon seller app. But as far as like all the other third party things, those were like really sort of non-existent. There wasn't even really a lot of like YouTube information out there. There was a couple people doing it back then, but really there were just a few. It was a lot more basic. Like I don't remember getting into Keepa, getting into repricers, none of that stuff, none of that data. If it was out there, it wasn't well known to me at the time. So it was just sort of, hey, this is what I'm buying it for. This is what I'm selling it for. And I hope that it sells for that, right? Yeah, it's definitely came a long way with the influx of all the third-party vendors out there now.
And like within this time, like for the like 10 years, do you change the products that you sell or you sell like similar products throughout this time?
I sell a lot of different items too. When I first started, I sold a lot of books because they were low cost of entry, right? You can go to a library sale, get a book for 50 cents or $1 or a thrift store and then resell it. But I always knew when I was on Amazon, even though you can sell used on there, I always knew I wanted to do new products that weren't books. So I sold a lot of used books, but then started finding ways to sort of sell newer items. Honestly, I sold a lot of health and beauty, a lot of different kinds of like clothing and stuff. But really, after COVID happened, in the US and really worldwide, a lot of stores really took a hit as well. So it's like a lot of that inventory wasn't there anymore. So I sort of had to adjust and started doing things more like I do a lot of food items now, like supplements, vitamins, dog food. Still do toys, not a whole lot of books, just because with the capital I've earned over the years, it's not really. I mean, I still think it's really cool. You can buy a book for 25 cents and sell it for $20, right? Like that's amazing. I'm just not in those places to find those kind of items anymore. So yeah, it's definitely grown and changed a little bit.
And can you tell us a little bit more about your process of finding some profitable items? Like how do you usually do the product sourcing?
For retail arbitrage, it's sort of the thrill of the hunt, right? Like it is physical because you have to drive to the store or the outlet or whatever it is. You have to physically look at things. I just scan. I'm in a group with some friends, and so we get like leads that we sort of go on with each other. So that helps a lot. But if I'm going to a store, I'm going to look at a few sections. Like I'm going to do health and beauty. I know I'm going to do toys, and I know I'm going to probably do clothing if I have time because it's a little more labor intensive doing the clothing. But I'm going to go and I'm going to see if there's any brands or any items that I know of that sort of spark a hey, I'm going to check this out because that comes with experience, right? But I'll always try to make it a specific point to also scan stuff I've never heard of because there's so many times like
Mm.
if you get stuck in a rut and you're only scanning Nike or you're only scanning Adidas or whatever it is, skip over some of those other brands, you're going to miss out on some big stuff potentially. So it's a numbers game at some point, right? The more you can scan, the more data you can get, the better decision you can make.
Yeah, that's true. And usually, do you put like any limits? For example, when you go and do the product sourcing, like, do you need to like how many items you need to scan per day or something like that?
No, I don't really I don't really have a scan per day. I have a as much as I can find for the amount of time that I'm out, and then try to get it to fit in the vehicle, and then try to find some
Mm.
place to store it till I send it out. So, like right now, it's December, so it's Q4, and there were some pretty good deals going on that when that happens and you know about it, regardless of what you have going on, for me, you sort of have to jump out there and get it, right? So right now I'm super piled up. The bottleneck is sort of just processing it all, making sure that the quality check, taking stickers off, everything like that. It's right now as much as I can.
How many items does it take to scan to find like one profitable item? Like if you have like a number on average.
It depends on the item. If you sort of know brands you're looking for, you could scan maybe 5, 6, 7 and find a good one. It also depends on like what your margins are. Like if you're okay with making like spending $10 and then making 20% back. So like you spend 10, you profit 2, you're probably going to find that pretty quick, right? Like you're maybe going
Mm.
to scan 10, 15 items and start finding stuff that fits that. But if your profit margins are higher, 40, 50%, you may have to scan, 40, 50 items before you maybe find one, and just part of the nature of the beast is sometimes you may not. I mean, that's just the reality.
Because there's like different business models, right? There's like retail arbitrage, online arbitrage, wholesale, private label. Why do you prefer retail arbitrage?
Honestly, it's what I know. It's what I started. It's what I've been doing. I've heard the stories, right? I've heard the stories about online arbitrage being amazing, and I've heard them from people that I trust. For me, it's not fun, honestly. Like
Mm.
stacking coupons, keeping track of the deals. Like if you ever do online arbitrage, you have to be up on like coupons and deals and sales. And I mean, and I'm like sitting at a computer, just like, going through items and stuff. It's just not exciting to me. I have noticed also that on those deals, a lot more people have access to them, right? Like if you're at your local Walmart and you find something that's likely not going to be in the Walmart 400, miles away, right? So if you're online and you're on walmart.com, then that deal is going to be available to everybody. So what happens with that is the price sort of starts to tank, so you have to hold it a little bit. I really just prefer retail arbitrage because I'm used to it, and I honestly think, in my experience, the margins are higher and it's more fun.
Mm. Is there like any sections that you won't go and source for the products there because you know that most likely I won't find anything in that section?
Not really. I mean, I have sections that I'll go to more often because I'm more familiar with the brands, but I can't think of a section that I wouldn't go. I mean, the frozen food section probably because you got to keep it, like anything
Right, right.
refrigerated or stuff like that. But for the most part, I'll go in anywhere. I tend to steer away from automotive sometimes just because
Mm.
I don't know, maybe I should check out the automotive section more. Could be a gold mine, but yeah, there's really not one that I exclude.
What are those key factors for you, like to decide, okay, I will purchase this item and resell it on Amazon?
For me, it's boils down to a few things. One is the profit there, right? I like to start at about 40% ROI, and I'll flex on that a little bit if it's a real fast seller and it's lower than that, then I could do that. But the profit margin and the best seller rank for sure, right? Because you could find something that's going to make a killer profit, but is never going to sell, right? Or may sell
Mm.
one a year or something like that. So the seller rank, the profit margin, and just the quality of the item too, pretty much. I will look at reviews and stuff like that. Like I don't know. I have some friends that they'll sell anything that has a good rank. For me, if it has like a 2 star, even though 1,000 people buy it a month, I'm sort of like, maybe it's not something I want to do, or maybe I'll get a few of them and see how it goes. So
Maybe like you're gonna have a lot of returns as well, right? If
yeah,
it's bad reviews.
your seller name to be associated with selling stuff that's not good quality. I guess at least
Right,
I don't
right.
want mine to.
When you do the product sourcing, like, do you sometimes go like out to other cities, like to go to the other grocery stores, or you usually do it like all within your city and your
Oh
neighborhood?
no, yeah, I definitely travel. There's a particular local store that we have. Well, it's semi-local. It's more in the south, but there's 5 stores in my state. And if I know that there's something good, I'm going to hit my store, which is 20 minutes away. The next closest one, I say mine because it's like closest to me, right? But I'll hit the one closest to me. I'll hit the one that's 40 minutes away. And then the next one's an hour away. The next one's an hour and 45. And the next one's 2 hours. So, like this weekend, my wife and I went because we had some stuff we wanted to look for, and we did a full tour. And I mean, it could take it could be a 9, 10, 11 hour day, just depending on how long you spend in there with the drive time. 6 or 7 hours of that's just drive time there and back. So definitely go out some for specific things.
The farther you go, like you need to make sure you can purchase some
Yeah.
items. Otherwise, like you're gonna spend like the money on the gas and like your
And the
time
gas.
and
The cool thing is we've built relationships with some of these stores that we go to with the management and that kind of stuff. And so a lot of times we can call them and say, "Hey, do you have this or that item, or have you got this in?" And if they say yes, then our chances shoot way up for it being a profitable trip. So.
if there's like anyone who wants to start an Amazon business, they may be like scared to start. Like, what kind of tips or suggestions can you give them to inspire them to start?
Well, one, I would say, know why you're starting the business. Is it just something you want to do to see how it pans out, right? Or do you have a goal? Make a goal. Maybe it's a financial goal. Maybe it's a, sell X amount of products goal, whatever it is, have a goal in mind. Watch some YouTube videos, look at some forums, not the Amazon forums, because if you go to the Amazon forums, you're going to be scared out of your mind with horror stories and complaints. So Google some questions, ask some people on social media. Just there's a lot of free information out there, right, to sort of get you started. But you really just want to get started. Sign up for a seller account and get your first item. Go to the store, maybe you're at a grocery store, and just sort of scan things you're familiar with, right? See how much they go for online. I think you'll be surprised. And don't go in heavy, right? Don't listen to some of the so-called professionals that you don't need to spend $10,000 your first month in Amazon, right? Because that's a lot of at least for me, a lot of money to tie up into something without knowing how it works. So start small, build your confidence.
And what do you think would be a suitable budget to start an Amazon business?
Well, if you're doing like I did with used books from thrift stores and stuff like that, I mean, you could get $100 and really get the thing going. My personal opinion, you're going to want to get a professional seller account because if not, you're going to be paying $1 per item. So if you sell an item, they charge you roughly $1. So you break even if you sell 40 items. Because that pro seller account, they don't charge you that extra fee. So I would recommend right out of the gate getting a pro account, but it's $40 off the bat. But you really don't have to. You can do it non-pro account, just see how it goes, right? Well, $100, $200. But if you're wanting to do, more, if you have a bigger budget than that, and you want to start doing like retail arbitrage, some bigger chains where your items are going to cost 15, 20, $30 instead of, a quarter or 50 cents, I'd get at least a, 500 or $1,000 to get rolling. Because you're gonna have to wait for that money to come back too. So you're gonna have to buy the products, ship them out. That could take some time. Wait for them to sell, and then wait for Amazon to send it back to you. So that money's going to be tied up for a little bit.
I want to ask you, for example, when you do the Amazon business and you're starting out, which fulfillment methods should you choose? Like, should you choose FBA or FBM?
I think FBA in the long term is the way to go. I understand a lot of people may not be comfortable with that. It's sort of weird to think about how that works. As a matter of fact, most customers I know think that when you buy from Amazon, you're buying from Amazon, and they don't really equate it with buying from a third party seller. If you want to build confidence, I think there's nothing wrong with FBM. To get started, you won't get a full accurate picture, I don't think, because a lot of times with FBA, you are going to get the buy box more. So if you're selling from your warehouse or from your home, not fulfilled by Amazon, just keep in mind if there are people selling through Amazon, then they're a lot more likely to get the buy box and get the sales. So you could have a good selling product and be trying to sell it FBM and it not be selling. And then as soon as it hits the warehouse, you start getting sales. So FBM is a little bit more comfortable for people, I think. It's got a lot less regulations to it, so maybe start there. But I would definitely have the goal of doing of FBA. I would recommend that to anybody.
I know that you've been using a BQool repricer for quite some time, and can you tell us like how did BQool repricer help your Amazon business?
BQool has been a huge lifesaver. I get so many different products from the kind of business model that I do. It's not like I have five things and I sell them over and over, right? I mean, you're constantly getting new ASINs, which is Amazon's identifier number for their products. Say you've got 100 different products, it's going to take a lot of time to manually price all those. And so with BQool, once I get my rules set up at a price, right? Because the biggest thing for me is like if I'm going to sell something for 49.99 and somebody drops it to 49.95, I would gladly sell it for 49.95, but they could get the buy box with 5 cents less and me never even know about it because I don't have time to check on everything. With BQool, it'll catch it and it'll fluctuate it based on my parameters, the rules that I set for it. And so I don't really have to worry about it. There's been a lot of times where I'll set something for 20 bucks and it ends up selling for, 19.95 or even 23. Sometimes it even raises it. It takes a lot of the time invested in handling products, frees up time to do other stuff.
And why do you choose a BQool repricer?
Well, with BQool, there's so many different customization options. Like I could say, okay, I don't want to compete against people that have a 1-star rating. I want to lower my price to match the buy box, but I don't want to lower it any more than 5% in one drop. So that way, if I have it at 20 and somebody drops it to 10, I'm not going to drop all the way to 10 because if I don't have it set like that, you don't want to do that and then realize, oh man, I just lost a bunch of money because I had this set up wrong. So it's got a lot of customization options, which is really cool. I really like, you can even like, one thing I think is cool, there's some sellers that go to some of the same places that like I get my products from, and they will always sell at a lower price. And it's super frustrating. So I can even take that seller and I say, don't compete with this seller, like all the way out and not even have to worry about it. So a lot of different customizations is really the key for me.
How do you think like your buy box improved since you started to use a BQool repricer?
It's sort of hard to tell because I didn't have anything before BQool to tell me what my buy box win was. It's like 13% in December for all my products. I think it was 11% last month in November. The cool thing about it is that with BQool, you can see the buy box percentage on each item. So like if I have all of my parameters set and I can run it by buy box one, so I can say, okay, maybe this rule isn't really working for this product because I've got 0 buy box wins, or maybe there's something else. So even if the buy box win isn't as high as I want it to be, I can sort of play around with it to get it to where I'd like it to be.
When it comes to deciding like what kind of rules to choose or how to set the rules, like how do you usually decide like for this product I will choose this rule and for other product I will choose other rule?
When you first start, there's a lot to learn, right? It's not just like you one button and then turn your brain off. You still have to be sort of involved. There's a lot of good default customizations with BQool. But honestly, I Googled some and did some YouTube and I got some videos out there of people who are using it and said, hey, this is what I'm using. So I started using that and then just customized it from there, right? So if my items over a certain amount of time, I check it once a week, right? I go through all my items. So if something's not performing how I want it to, I may say, oh, hey, on this one, I may need to change who I'm competing with on this. And so may tweak it a little bit. So part of it's just experience of others, part of it's personal experience. And then if I want to sell something faster, a lot of times I'll just use one of the defaults for BQool. I can't think of the name of it right now, but it's like it competitively does, it aggressively goes after the buy box. So it's like I think it's like AI maximize sales or something like that, to where it'll push it out to go under what I normally would to try to really get that buy box.
If someone wants to start to use a BQool repricer, like what kind of like tips can you give to those people?
First tip would be to sign up for it, right? And then just start playing around with the settings. If you're nervous about it, you don't have to take all of your items and start repricing them. You could take a sample, 5 different items, say, and then put the different defaults on there and sort of see how it reacts, right? You get more comfortable with how it's going, then maybe start to do some more customizations, create your own rules and that kind of stuff. And so there's always going to be things as a seller that you're going to grow and learn. And then as you grow and learn those, you can start to take those and apply them to your rules on the BQool repricer.
And let's say like if we go back, like let's say like 10 years ago when you started an Amazon business, what are all those things that you would do differently?
I think I probably wouldn't hesitate as much. And I think I would get into a group. I would have networked earlier with some people, maybe through social media or YouTube or whatever, and just reached out and talked to people, because that really helps. I'm always a cautious person by nature, right? So if there's something that I think might be a really good deal, I'm always like, yeah, but what if it's not, right? So I think I would have pulled the trigger a lot more on some bigger items, I think. Looking back, and I think, oh man, I could have made so much more off that. But at the time, I was like, oh man, I could lose so much on this. So, and today it's just, experience has taught me more what to go in deep on and what not to. But I guess if I could have had that wisdom back then, it would have been different, right?
How do you think like networking is important when you sell on Amazon?
So for me, it's sort of, I've done some different kinds of networking, some Facebook groups and stuff like that. A lot of those sort of get bogged down. What really worked for me, and this is sort of unique, it's not a blueprint that I can really give anybody, but my YouTube channel actually, there was a guy watching it, and he lives about 45 minutes away, and he commented on it, and then he reached out through Instagram, and we started talking, and then he was talking to somebody else who's about 4 hours away, and we found out we all sort of do the same thing, and so we just created like a three-way chat to bounce ideas off each other and source product leads, and then we invited a few more people into that as well. So I think there's 5 or 6 of us now that sort of just share ideas and share different leads and stuff like that. So it was almost like grassroots, sort of, wasn't really planned at all. I will tell you that that has been invaluable. That the group's been going on, it'll be a year in February that we've all been talking together. It really has been invaluable. So whether that's a leads list you get into or just a Facebook group, try to find people you connect with and have similar goals. It's really been a big part of the business this year for sure.
And when you create those kind of communities and like network with other sellers, how do you make sure that you won't create a competition to yourself?
Well, that's a good question. And we've been a little selective with who we've let in the group, because there's only so many stores, right, in a certain area. So we're all in different geographical locations. Sometimes there's some crossover, but we tend to stick to our own little, areas, right? It wouldn't make sense for me to drive 3 hours away to go somewhere where I know that this person's already been anyway, for one, right? And two, it just helps us sort of keep everything, friendly, I guess, because I don't care how close you are. If you tell somebody about something and they come take it out from under you, you're not going to be happy about it. So you got to use some wisdom there. But it's been going on a year and we haven't really had any issue yet. So
friends with you, but they sometimes just like want to learn everything, and then like they're gonna start to compete with you.
It's just another risk you take, just like in any kind of human relationship. You have to have some discretion in what you do. So don't want to be an open book to everybody, that's for sure.
If you can choose like one superpower to have, like what kind of superpower would you like to have?
I think patience. I think you could say that a superpower, right? Not a lot of people have it anyway. And the reason I say that is because there's been a lot of times where if I would have just waited instead of rushing, then things would have worked out anyway, and maybe they would have worked out, better. If you put it into like a business model or reselling model, say you've got something you're selling for $40 and then somebody undercuts you by 35 and then somebody drops it to 25 and you think, oh my gosh, it's going to keep dropping. So then you drop it and then you sell out. And then in 3 weeks, it goes back up. You're like, if I would have just waited, I would have made so much more money or whatever it is, or even just with, life in general, just being patient. So
Justin, like someone wants to find you on social media, where should they go like to follow you?
I do have a YouTube channel. It is called The Winds of Change. Wins like WINS. So it's The Winds of Change YouTube channel. And it's the same on Instagram. It's _wins, WINS_of_change.
Okay, perfect. We're gonna make sure to include those links in the description. So guys, go and make sure to follow Justin on his YouTube and Instagram account. And yeah, we're getting to the end of our webinar today. Thank you so much, Justin, for sharing like all of those tips, suggestions, and some of your experience, because I think this is very valuable to people, especially you've been selling on Amazon for like more than 10 years. And yeah, thank you for today's video. I will see you next time.
Thank you. Bye.